Good morning. I'm really very proud to have the opportunity to talk to you today about what we're doing at HP. We've talked all morning, it seems, about strategic talent acquisition and the journey you make from being a very traditional, maybe operational recruiting function to becoming more strategic in the way that you contribute to your company and what your company needs from you, whether you're a small or large talent acquisition team, however mature you are. And we're going to use HP as a kind of a case study today. There's lots of connection points between what you're going to hear me talk about and what you've heard from Cara, and also what you heard from Parker this morning in mobilizing, internal workforce and the opportunity that represents. And HP is going through a really transformational time. So I hope to give you a good illustration of what we're doing and how we're contributing, and that somewhere, whatever situation you're in, there will be some relevance in this for you, and some simple things, I think, in many ways that underpin what we're doing at HP that you can take away and think about in the context of your own work every day. So to HP, many of you will know HP as the original Silicon Valley startup company. Started in 1939 in Palo Alto by Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard. And from very small beginnings, HP has grown to become the world's largest information technology provider. We have breadth of portfolio, printers, imaging, servers, networking, security, software services, the whole thing. And we have scale. We're a huge organization, a $120 billion company, 300,000 people in 170 or so countries around the world. So we have size and scale. And for me in talent acquisition, that does help me. It enables me to do things, to bring resources to the challenges that we face. But there are some things around what we do and how we do it that aren't about the scale and size of HP. And they can be relevant to you in some way, no matter which of the challenges you face and where you are on your own roadmap to becoming a more strategic talent acquisition team. Now, some of you, quite reasonably, might be thinking, isn't HP just a printer company? And you might be thinking, I have a HP printer at home. Don't you just make printers? And I'll return to that question at the end of this session, because actually it's really valid for us as a talent acquisition team when we think, how do we help people understand what HP is today? What are we as an organization? What can we offer to potential employees? Why would someone come and work for HP? But actually we do a lot more than make printers. We run billions and billions of transactions, healthcare transactions, credit card transactions. We quarantine millions of viruses every year. We service 92 of the Fortune 100. So a very truly global footprint, yes, but we're in challenging times in HP as a company and in the industry we're in. And you would all say, technology, the industry as a whole, it's the defining industry of our generation in many ways. Every so often, through the last couple of decades certainly, there's a new innovation of technology, something that completely changes the way technology is consumed, the way it's bought, the way we're doing social networking, the way we're doing recruiting. It changes everything. And each generation of that technology innovation brings something new. And if you think about where we are today with mobile, social, the cloud, big data, the impact of that and the significance of that is going to have the biggest impact so far on all of us in how we live our daily lives, in how we run our businesses, and for HP in how we remain competitive and what we sell to our customers. It's a new style of IT, and the way we talk about it in HP and the way we think about how we need to be competitive is that we have two advantages. We have scale and we have breadth of portfolio. We are one of the few companies that can offer the printing and the imaging, the servers and the storage and the networking, and we can bundle that all together into what our customers want to buy. But if you think about what customers look for, they're going to look for the same things as you. They'll look for simplicity. They'll look for cost efficiency. They want something that works, something that is reliable. And if you think about any big client environment today, they need a bridge between the technology investments that they will have made in the past, all the legacy stuff, and the bridge into how technology needs to be an enabler of their success in the future. They want one provider that can arc over the whole thing and run all of that as a kind of an integrated platform. Open systems, platform agnostic, creating kind of simplicity and agility. Because increasingly for us, that's going to be the success in how people run their businesses and stay competitive. So a new style of IT for us and a big opportunity because we can do all of the component pieces. But while it's a big opportunity for us, HP has had a really, really turbulent time. And many of you may have seen some of what's been played out in the press. We've had 4 CEOs in the last decade, many strategic twists and turns. Some of you may remember one of our previous CEOs made a very sudden announcement in the press that the HP was going to stop making PCs. We purchased autonomy. Some real strategic confusion. We really lost our way as a company. We lost market share. I think we lost a sense of who we were as an employer. And when Meg Whitman, our current CEO, took over in 2011, she basically came with a rescue plan. And the future of the company was at stake, and that's not an understatement. She set out a very clear 5-year vision for the turnaround of HP, what we needed to become as a company in order to be successful, revenue generating, market leading. And contrary to what many people thought she could do, she marshaled the efforts of all of those of us who were still in HP then, and we embarked on this 5-year journey. We're halfway through. We're in our recovery and expansion phase, and if you listen to Meg talking to industry analysts or to employees or to clients, she'll say we're where we thought she'd be. She's pleased with where we are. We're halfway through. The things that she talked about 2 years ago that would be happening now if we were doing okay are coming true. We have pockets of revenue building in our business groups. We have a series of investments in R&D that are starting to pay off. The restructure to the formation of our business groups is paying off because HP has become easier to do business with. We were going to multiple customers in different groupings and showing up at the same places, people not talking to one another, very dysfunctional. And when she talks about employee engagement, she talks about making HP a better place to be. And certainly as a long-time employee of HP myself, I know that it feels a very much more positive place to be now than it would have done 3 years ago, say. So I feel it, and our employees feel it, and increasingly the industry starts to see it. So fiscally, the health of HP is really improving. Our stock price is growing. We were down at somewhere near $11, which was absolutely terrible 18 months or so ago. Around 33 today, good progress. The net debt that Meg inherited when she took over, $3 billion worth of net debt, is gone. And some of our really key financial measures, net earnings per share, cash flow, are rapidly increasing, and particularly so in the last 2 or 3 quarters. You can see 17% year-on-year increase if we look at Q1 this year to last year. So you start to feel the turn. And it's a really good thing, because as you all know, when some of this gets played out in the media, it's like one continual bad news story. And things are changing for us. So the media coverage becomes more positive. We're earning back market share. We've done a lot of new product release, which has generated a lot of positive press for us. But the turnaround of the company is about more than the financial aspects of it. It's about 2 other things. It's about having everyone in the company focused on doing the right things, focused on work which drives revenue, taking out inefficiency, staying focused on the right things. And second, having a workforce which is what we need to be successful and competitive in the future. Skills, capabilities, locations. And that's, for me, when I took this role in 2012, where I picked up a talent acquisition function that was not in any way ready to support what Meg and HP needed from us, to be able to drive workforce transformation, have people in the right places, be hiring good quality people. We were not in any way ready for that. We're a big function, 750 people around the world, and we had a really, really poor reputation, very inwardly focused, very inefficient, lots of duplication of effort, everybody building their own stuff. And at the same time, HP is making tens of thousands of people redundant around the world. Big workforce restructuring efforts, lots of people leaving, big demands on us for hiring other people in different places you can imagine. We're just not ready. And I think most dangerously of all, perhaps, we had become really complacent, I think, as a company about why anyone would want to come and work for us. We're just assuming that people would apply. Why would they apply? If you read about a company in the press, one long bad news story, HP this, laying off lots of people, boring old printer company, you wouldn't choose HP, you'd choose Google or any one of a number of others. So we had some real problems. And it set the stage for our own transformation and really everything that we've been talking about this morning, our own roadmap to becoming a more strategic and value-adding talent acquisition function in HP, based on two quite simple principles. The first, that as a big company, 300,000 people, many of those people are our greatest assets. Some of them probably not. Maybe they don't have the right skills, maybe they're not in the right locations, but many of them are. Parker, I think, this morning said 40% of people would stay if they could find a suitable and interesting and relevant job rather than leave. So the first principle is our internal talent base and using and understanding that more effectively. The second is about infusing talent, new talent into HP, whether that be talent with the technical skills that we need or people in growth locations, new locations where we don't have a presence today, or graduate talent, early career talent. And the balance between the two proved crucial to us. If you think about all of the people that HP is making redundant because we're in this big workforce restructuring, all of the people that we then need to hire, this huge kind of balancing act. And the reason that it becomes so important, and we'll talk a bit more about university hiring specifically in a moment, is that it's how you change the labor pyramid. You all know as well as I, you have to feed in newer early career talent at the bottom of your pyramid to stimulate movement and career development for your employees further up. And it becomes a cycle of career development for people in the organization that becomes really effective and kind of self-promoting, if you like. So a simple strategy in many ways, not rocket science. And you've all got copies of the core slides in this deck. I used these slides with my leadership team 2 years ago when we began this work. And I've used them every time we've had a team meeting ever since. And the reason is that everybody has to understand the overall intent. It doesn't help me at all if I get it but nobody else does. Our whole team have really worked hard to understand how everything that they do every day, the role that each of them as individuals play, makes a difference to where we want to get to. So you would say, well, how will we know when it's different? How will we know when we've done it, been successful? How will we know that we've changed things? And we tried to describe it very simply. We will move from this to this, from that to that. And that helped me build a roadmap, just like we've seen this morning, for a series of things that we needed to do incrementally over time to make our journey. And as you've heard other people say, for us, it's really not a leap we've been able to make in one go. It's been a long, sustained effort over a period of time, and that's really how we have talked about it as a team and how we have approached it in terms of a series of things. We can't deal with everything at once, but let's make sure that we do it in the right order. So simply then, we bucket the things we think we need to do. 3 categories: operations, the things that we have to have running smoothly to make the function run. Basic stuff, surveys to candidates and hiring managers, better automated reporting, upgrading Taleo. We were on a horribly outdated version of Taleo. We rolled out employment screening to help build a foundation for candidate quality. Foundational platform things that we needed to do first to enable the rest. Second bucket, strategic programs. These are the things that transform the way we do recruiting, whether that be internal talent movement and career development and programs to support our employee base, or external recruiting, university hiring, our career site, going mobile, all of the things that you would expect. Having a good digital and social strategy. And then finally, delivery enablement. You might think that this sounds a bit obvious, but we had to get organized in order to do our work more effectively. How do we know what our business groups need from us? Are we structured in a way that makes doing the work a bit easier? Are we all tripping one another over? How are we measuring what we're doing to even know whether we're doing it well or not? And so the 3 buckets together represent the things that we have done over the last 2 years and continue to do. We've not finished, but we are making a lot of progress. And I thought what we would do today is pick a couple, look at those in a little bit more detail, and then maybe pull out some simple things that perhaps can be relevant to you as you think about this in the context of the work that you each do every day. So university hiring is the first one. And university is very much a key part of our channel strategy, but it hasn't always been the case. In HP, our history of university hiring has really been one of fragmentation is the best word I can use, I think. Very decentralized, everybody doing their own thing. I think we hired from something like 1,300 schools in 2012 when we started this. I mean, just no economy of scale, no investment in good schools, a really poor experience for a graduate joining HP, honestly, and our graduate attrition in 1 year was 30%, horrifying. And so when I thought about what university hiring was and the opportunity it represented for us, remember my comments just now, lots and lots of people exiting the company, lots and lots of people coming in, the need to kind of balance the two in the middle. We did some analysis on what was happening in our workforce. Remember, we're in 2012 now, so we did an analysis looking over the next 5 to 6 years, and what we found was that if we didn't change the trajectory of our hiring and massively amplify our graduate and early career hiring, we would see that population declining by more than 10%, with a proportional increase in the older and more experienced population in HP. And remember that the people who've been in the company a long time are not necessarily people that we don't need, but they are more likely to be people who are perhaps in locations where we're not growing and investing, and perhaps people who don't have the type of technology skills that will enable us to deliver the new style of IT. And that's a really dangerous situation for us, because if we don't do something about that, it almost becomes too big a problem to be able to address. So university hiring simply becomes the lever that we pull to try to drive an increase in the way that we change the labor pyramid of the company. New skills, different locations, fewer locations, importantly, having more people in fewer places. And so we built our university hiring strategy around a very small number of locations last year. Really decided just to focus our efforts on fewer things. Let's do fewer, but do it better. And we hired around 5,000 graduates across the company. And this year we're targeting about 6,500, so an incremental 1,500 people. And that strategy of fewer locations, fewer schools, better relationships is really paying off. We're finding that we are able to onboard groups of graduates in cohort groups. We're able to invest in doing face-to-face onboarding activities. We can do buddying, coaching, We can have much more of an infrastructure to wrap around those people as they join the company, which is doing great things for our graduate attrition issues. And this has to be a sustained multi-year investment for us. It can't just be a one-year fix. It's something that we are committed to sustaining over the next few years, and it has to align really tightly to the location strategy of HP as a company. It doesn't suit us to be hiring graduates in locations where we know we are not growing. And the level of diligence and governance that we have to wrap around that to make sure that the right things are happening is significant. But this is one of the things that's making a real difference to the way that the workforce in HP is transforming. So the second area, if you remember the chart with the 3 columns, the second area is business engagement, just to talk a bit about this. And it's come up this morning in the context of, what can you do to be more strategic in the way you operate as a talent acquisition leader or as a talent acquisition team. Any decision you make about the structure of your organization or your team has to be made in the context of your company. How do things get done? How does it work? How are other functions organized? What are your kind of points of engagement with your businesses? And for me, when I took this role, I realized that there was no one in the whole function, remember, like hundreds and hundreds of people, no one at all whose sole job it was to be focused on understanding our business groups and what they needed from us. No one involved in any workforce planning discussions, no one involved in any business strategy or planning meetings. And I thought, that's a really bad thing for us, because how can we have a voice or a seat at the table or expect to be involved, told early, informed early of kind of hiring requirements? We're setting up a new site in a particular location, we need you to be ready. Cara talked a bit about it earlier on. How can we expect to have a voice if we haven't got people who are doing that? And if you think about HP as a business, each of our business groups does very different things. So the hiring needs of our services business represents half of the whole of HP. Volume business, services driven, lots and lots of hiring. Very different hiring requirements to our software business. Niche, small, location footprint, some really, really tough, hard to find technical skills requirements, different things. And so I restructured my leadership team to create roles which were solely focused on being those points of engagement to our business groups. And these people were senior talent acquisition leaders, all of whom who had had operational recruiting experience, who wouldn't manage people directly and wouldn't manage the operational delivery of recruiting, but who would solely focus on being an extended part of that business leadership team, being in the meetings, being in the discussions, working with the workforce planner or the kind of business leader to understand what's coming. Where do you need us? What do you need us to be doing? And those people have a difficult task. They have to kind of be a bridge between us and our businesses. They have to be able to talk to the business in terms the business understand and respond to. They have to try and make sense of an evolving set of plans and strategies and translate them into meaningful information for us. Hiring, demand forecast information, demand signals, location requirements, all the things that you would expect. And as is always the way, a lot of resistance to start with. But, start with a proof of concept. We picked one business group. Cara talked about doing pilots. We picked one business group, worked with them collaboratively to build a framework for how we would do this. What would these people actually do? What points of engagement would they have that would actually make a difference? How could they help quality of hiring? How could they help with sourcing? How could they help with making hiring planning more meaningful and more accurate? All of those things. We started with one group. It went really well. And, before you know it, the others are knocking on the door. I want someone. I want someone to talk to. I want someone to be my recruiting leader, to sit in my team, to help us manage and plan and make sure that you're then able to deliver on our requirements. And so we're up and running. And the framework that you see is truly a framework. And what I mean by that is not done exactly the same way in every business, because as I said just now, the businesses are different. They run differently. size and volume and requirements vary, but the core kind of content that kind of sits in the middle of that stays the same. And this is probably the thing that, above everything else, has helped us to build credibility as a function, to be business aligned, to understand and be engaged and have a voice and a seat at the table. We can course correct if we know we're not doing the right things. We can see it coming. We have a line of sight to things that we were just not involved in at all before. And so it's one of the things that has made, for us, the biggest impact. And in whatever way you might think about doing this, as I said at the beginning, this might be a scale that you couldn't possibly replicate, but even just having clearer points of engagement in the way you talk to your business leaders is impactful, and it's one of the things that for us has been a real success story. So before we close, I have a video to show you in a minute, but just before we close, I was thinking, how would I describe how this is relevant? Whatever organization you might come from, what are the things that I think we learned? The first is know your customer. It sounds so obvious when I say it, but how you align with your business, how you have those conversations with them. You need the business, I think, to be an advocate for you. I know that we couldn't do what we do if they weren't kind of supporting us and speaking up for us. They pay for things. They help us with resourcing. The fact that they're an advocate for us just helps us do the work that we do. If we have to fight them all the time, and we have credibility issues and they don't kind of think that we're really adding value, we are nowhere. None of the rest of it matters. So the first is know your customer. The second is have a plan. Make it stick and articulate it clearly. And you heard me say just now, I used these slides a couple of years ago with my team. Here's where we're going. And we've gone back to it again and again and again and again. And it's really impactful and powerful, I think, when you are trying to take an organization with you, that you have consistency and continuity, that people understand it, that it's described in terms, you know, that people can relate to the work they do every day. And that, you know, everything that you do as an organization has to align behind it, you know, like a compass point. Just as energy and momentum is infectious and carries you forward, dilution of purpose, people who are going off doing their own stuff, is just so damaging. So everything that you're doing should just align around your plan, even if, as we saw from Cara just now, you pick 2 things to focus on. Don't try and boil the ocean, but try and focus on 2 things and align around those. And the third one is don't be complacent. You might think, you know, what do you mean? Well, one of the things I've found is people don't understand as much as you think they do. Recruiters don't understand always so much about the bigger picture and why everything they do matters. We looked at the red carpet experience this morning. Every engagement that they have with a candidate matters. 40% of candidates who have a bad experience change their buying behavior. That's really dangerous for us. You think about the millions of customers that we have. And we've had to learn to tell a story about what we do. It doesn't help me in the least find good people if we're going out trying to convince people that HP is more than just a printer company. We've had to get very creative about how we talk about what we are, to try and educate people, to be compelling, to help people understand that there are lots of exciting things going on in HP. We work with really exciting clients. There's a world of career opportunity in a big organization. It's really what you make it. And if you remember at the start of this session today, one of the things I said was, don't you just make printers? I thought I would end with a video which I think will be a good illustration of how printing and digitization is really a lot more cool than it used to be. And you could come and work for HP and be part of our DreamWorks team and be doing all sorts of really cool stuff. So here's an illustration, and then if we've got time, I'll take a couple of questions.
DreamWorks Animation has always been at the forefront of innovation in movie making. Our processes are very digital and very complex.
But our contract management system doesn't integrate with any other system. We have to have a lot of manual processes and paper trails. essentially shuffling paper from person to person to person, office to office to office.
Print the document, march downstairs, put it in someone's desk in their inbox, wait for that person to hopefully see it.
The back office was actually starting to hinder some of the opportunities on the production side.
Previously, in order to get the artwork and our style guides in the hands of our licensees and or agents, we would physically create a book and then we would have to ship them all around the world. Now, we essentially just load it up into our website and push it to all the licensees. Not only is it far more cost effective, but it's far more efficient.
Through our standard quarterly business review process with HP, Managed Print Services have really helped us in making sure that we're efficiently using our assets.
HP brought software that provided the electronic document program, and they also provided an HP unit that specialized in scanning thousands of documents in a timely manner.
We can now access digitally files going back 5, 6, 7 years. Whereas before, if you could even find the file, you would be lucky, and just getting to that point would take, weeks.
Now they literally just click a button. They don't have to worry about any of these physical man labor issues at all anymore.
The information is secure, it's readily available, and it's all indexed and search ready.
Our overall approval process has really gone down dramatically. The search and find missions are essentially gone.
All the information is available to everybody that's involved in the process. It really gives the right information into the hands of the decision makers at the right time, wherever they are.
From an end-to-end perspective, we've cut about 1/3 of our back-end processes out of the equation. HP is a strategic partner of ours. They do everything from desktops, PCs, laptops, servers, and networking. We couldn't do what we do without HP.
HP definitely is a major source of our ability to make movies and have our company move forward.
So a good illustration, I hope, of what you might not think HP was doing and why we have to talk to candidates in a way which makes the whole thing more interesting and is more educational and compelling, and why coming to work for us is interesting. So I hope a good case study, and I hope relevant for you in some ways, big or small. I think we're probably more or less out of time. We might have time for 1 or perhaps 2 questions. If any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes.
Just throughout your presentation, I did see disruptive recruiting and talent finding. So how would you define that within HP?
So for us, that's really about how we're more targeted in our recruiting efforts, and that could be kind of on a continuum, really. One of the things that was talked about this morning was, you don't want to cast your net so wide that you get thousands and thousands of applicants and you have all of your recruiters kind of sifting through. It's busy work, it's not value-adding, doesn't help. So for us, that's been about trying to get a lot more focused and targeted in doing better sourcing and kind of segmentation of our target audience. And then at the other extreme, it's about really strategic kind of business hiring initiatives, and I'll give you a few examples. So, for us, sometimes one of our competitors will make a kind of a strategic decision around what they're doing with their technology, and it will impact a group of people, and we will know that we could use them really well in our business. And so we'll put a group of people on a very targeted and competitor disruptive recruiting effort to make sure that we can kind of capitalize on that. So that's really more about being competitor smart and not missing an opportunity in a very closely competitive environment to pick out good people from competitors and get them into the company. So it could be really anything from one extreme to the other.
Great, thanks.
Okay. One more question. Yes?
Your interface to the business, were they generalist type of background, or are they pure recruiters that have come up through the ranks operations? What was sort of the competencies and background of those individuals to be that go-between between both parties?
Great question. So they were all people who had been recruiters and then recruiting managers of some sort. Not necessarily senior people, but people who knew operational recruiting well and the complexities of doing it in an organization. but I picked people who had what I would describe as good consulting or business partnering skills, people who could kind of hold their own in meetings with people at a certain level, and people who were predisposed to see things from a business point of view rather than a recruiting process point of view. And our best successes have been with people who can kind of blend those two things.
So does that mean some of your HR generals, HRDs may not be doing that type of function today?
Yeah. Because what we find is they don't know enough about the recruiting environment to be able to be that bridge and take, you know, kind of intelligence from the business and understand what the business requirement is and translate it into something that we can kind of action. I know we're out of time, so thank you for listening. I hope it's been interesting and for the opportunity to come and be part of it today. Thank you.
Thanks, Jemma. It's a fascinating story, and with you at the helm, we look forward to celebrating lots of success with you as your journey unfolds. So I'm going to wrap us up and take us home. Before we do that, I just want to bring us back to what I mentioned this morning. This is a very small example of what you would experience at our recruiting conference at Talent Connect. It literally has grown to be the largest talent acquisition conference globally, and we're really excited to actually bring it back to its roots. So this year, Talent Connect is going to be in San Francisco from October 20th to 22nd, and we would love to see all of you there. A little bit of detail for those of you that may not have attended before. It is truly an event for our customers by our customers. So you're the ones telling us the content. It's customers just like you up on stage sharing their stories, much like Kara and Jemma have shared today. We have it for executive level individuals, for leaders, for managers, for users. So there are different tracks, something relevant and we hope very insightful for anyone who attends, and we'd love to have you there.